August 1st. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we bring you the long-awaited Otakon 2007 Con Report.
Let's do this.
Warm today.
No, I don't want to start with that.
You don't want to start with that?
I want to jump right into it because the show will be long otherwise.
True, it will. For all of you new listeners, it's finally the night where we're going to do that Otakon Con Report. You know, that con that we went to before the Week of Awesome. The con that I almost forgot about.
Right. Let's talk about it. But first, there's some news.
So what do you got?
This news is actually about the Otakon. Apparently, there was some fan-subbing group doing a panel at Otakon on fan-subbing. Right?
Did they actually do their panel?
I think they did do that. They did do their panel normally and successfully.
All right.
However, they put a press release on their website, on Saturday, July 21st, and they actually kept updating it through the 27th. That told a farcical tale of police coming and arresting them at their fan-subbing panel, and their fan-subbing panel being renamed, and in order to let the police know where they were, and such and such and such and such.
I don't recall anything like that happening at Otakon.
Because nothing like that did happen at Otakon. This fan-subbing group, in order to, I guess, attract attention, made up this story and put it in an actual press release that was constantly updated daily on their website to get some attention after the con. And if you actually highlight all their web, you drag and you select, you can see that in white on a white background at the bottom it says YHBT at the bottom of their press release, which means you have been trolled.
All I really have to ask about that is, what's a Nubian? Yeah.
So wait. So Otakon on their website today put up a press release that says, response to Databayo's falsified press release. We've gotten comments about the press release earlier this week. Just to tell you, their panel went fine. Police and lawyers were not part of their panel, nor was anyone arrested. At the bottom of their press release, the letters YHBT. Their press release is a complete fabrication, not amusing. We are saddened they had to stoop to such a level to get, quote, street cred, quote.
Good game, Otakon.
Otakon said street cred in, I guess, a semi-official press release.
Man, that's why I love Otakon.
But anyway, yeah, kind of silly.
On one hand, I somewhat respect someone trying to do something crazy to get noticed, but on the other hand, you're a fan-subber. What you're doing is vaguely illegal to begin with.
Yeah, Otakon gave you a panel. Your panel was just fine. There was nothing wrong with it. And you're making trouble for Otakon. But more importantly, what's with the stupid people believing the obviously phony press release?
I mean, it's not like that wouldn't have been in the news somewhere other than there.
I know, right? Come on.
I think we're some of the last human beings on Earth who, whenever I see any news that's too good or too bad to be true, I look for at least one other source.
And one other source that isn't just a blog post linking to the first source.
Yeah, hopefully something
Or a blog post linking to the blog post that links to the blog post that links to the only source.
The worst is when you find a real legitimate or semi-legitimate press outlet that has a story that at the end they just credit some blog that they got it from.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So, what's your news?
Right. Well, a while ago, Emily took me to see Toki Kakeru Shoujo in the city, which it's the girl who leapt through time, or the girl who runs through time. And it was a freaking fantastic movie. I highly recommend it. It turns out that DC Comics' CMX division has picked up the rights to the manga to Toki Kakeru Shoujo.
Yep. The CMX, if you don't know, is just basically, it's DC Comics. And I think Jim Lee has something to do with it. I'm not sure, but they publish the Mega Tokyos and the Tenjo Tenges, and this book I actually just bought called Samurai Command Mission something. I'm going to read it and let you know how it is probably next week or something. And so this is just one. There's actually, I was kind of looking down on them because they were only publishing crap manga and crap non-manga. And
that's harsh.
I know. And now they're actually starting to get some things that are slightly interesting. So in addition to keeping your eye on the Viz and the Del Rey and the Vertical, keep your eye on the CMX as well. Oh, and the Dark Horse. Who can forget the Dark Horse?
I'm excited about this, partly because according to the press release here, which is probably not a troll, these are pretty much directly based on the original 1965 novel, which the movie was also based on.
Yeah.
The movie is really neat in that it kind of gives nods to the novel, but it is its own story. and I really want to read that novel now, but I don't think it's in English.
This is something that I've noticed. They've been bringing a lot of the novels over, you know. And at first, the first one I ever saw was when I went to the comic book store regularly before I ordered online. I saw this FMA book on the shelf, and I was like, I'm buying FMA. I got to buy this book. And I picked it up, and it was a novel inside. And I was like, what the fuck? And I put it down. And then a Vampire Hunter D one came, and I was like, oh, it's a novel. What the fuck? And I put it down. I was like, what the fuck's a novel doing in the comic book store? But now, you know, I hear about, like, these actually awesome animes and mangas that were originally based on novels. Not novels that came after, but novels that came before.
That's what I'm interested in.
And I'm like, so I've been looking for, like, Atragon, you know, and all these old Japanese sci-fi novels.
We've been looking for Atragon for a long time.
I keep forgetting the way to say it in Japanese, but it's called Undersea Battleship. And it's basically this Japanese sci-fi novel from 1899 that is out of print and impossible to find.
It's somewhat world-renowned, and it's super Japan-renowned, and there is a mediocre anime based on it.
Kaete Gunkan. That's how it's said. If anyone has a copy of the original novel, Kaete Gunkan.
In English or Japanese, we don't care.
Yeah, from English or Japanese or any other language, from 1899. This thing's public domain, people, and I can't get it. It's a crime.
You know what? I'm going to put a bounty on it. I'll give you $50 if you send it to us.
I'll give you $100 for the full text in any language.
All right, so that's already $150 on the line.
Yeah, of Kaete Gunkan, the original novel by Shunro Oshikawa. There you go.
It's so bad that the anime was not so great. They really need to...
Well, that was Super Atragon. There was also the live-action movie, which included kaiju as well as other things.
I heard that was great, but not for the right reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, but my point is, there's a bunch of awesome Japanese novels that I want translated to English, and they are translating novels to English, but not the ones I want. Where's, like, the 12 Kingdoms at?
Oh, there's an update here. CMX also announced that they're going to release Shirley, which is a companion piece to Emma.
Oh, well, good for you. You want it?
Yeah, I want both of those because Emma is my favorite manga right now.
All right. I'll keep an eye out.
Things of the day. So you all know that my second favorite kind of prank is Japanese TV show launches someone naked into some sort of zany situation.
Oh, man. Do you have one of those? I haven't seen one of those in a while. That was new.
See, no, I don't because...
what are you building up and then letting down for?
While that is my second favorite kind of prank, my favorite kind of prank is the prank that isn't a jump out boo or anything like that. It's where you set up a situation that's so weird that the people involved, it's not like, oh, you got me, it's a prank, but they're just kind of freaked out and unnerved. Bonus points if you never tell them it was a prank. Well, this is just one such video, and I was taken aback. I saw the link on Dig, and I thought, okay, this is going to be one of those bugaboo, we got you, candid camera things. So I watch it, and they set up the situation of guys going to get sucked into a jet engine on a tarmac, and a woman's going to see it and freak out. And while that happens, that is not the prank. That is not the prank at all. And all I have to say is the guy who kind of looks a little bit like Michael Keaton, it's a good night for flying. That guy makes this prank. Good God.
It is an excellent prank and of the highest caliber. However, I am disappointed that I do not get to see if and when they ever tell the person about the prank, because their reaction would be also the priceless.
However...
It's basically like they made a gem of gold, and then I know there's another gem of gold waiting, but they deny it to me.
It's a gem, too. The woman starts losing it, and it's like a scene out of a movie, and she's starting to doubt her own sanity. And what I'm going to assume, because they did not show us the end result, is that either this was all staged from the beginning, which I doubt. I think they actually pulled this on the woman. I'm going to assume that they never let her in on it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine then.
Because if that is true, this is perhaps the greatest prank ever pulled.
But then I hope she sees it on TV or the internet.
You know what? I hope she never does. I hope everyone...
Or she could be an actor.
I hope everyone she knows or has ever loved sees the video, but she never does. And then on her deathbed, someone shows it to her to get the maximum fullness of the joke.
Okay, so that would probably kill her. Are you an anime fan?
Deathbed. I don't
Are you
think
an
it would
anime
matter.
fan?
Kinda.
Have you ever actually watched Astro Boy ever?
I saw a clip from Astro Boy on the YouTubes.
Right. So Adult Swim, of all people, on their website has a full entire episode of the old original Astro Boy. It's not the first episode, and it's not subtitled with Japanese. It's the English one. But there it is, and I watched it, and you should watch it. If you don't watch it, you just stop being an anime fan. Don't listen to Wednesday. Don't listen to any anime podcast. Don't watch any anime. You
got to know your roots.
This episode, it's basically, I feel the same way about this as I feel about, like, old, corny superhero comics from the 70s. You watch it, and you're like, wow, look at this. There's actually this hard sci-fi plot about a ship with a crew going to Mars, not trusting Astro Boy as the captain because he's a robot. A guy who was a mutiny on the last mission who was actually right about alien invaders. The aliens are really cool. There's actually not the super complex plot, but way more complex plot for a children's show than you're going to see. But the delivery is mad corny. The dubbing is way bad.
You can't blame that on the Japanese.
No, but you can name the poor animation. I mean, they pretty much... This mouth's not moving while there's talking, which I'm not sure if there was originally talking or not because it's dub.
It seems like a lot of American dubs of things, especially older ones or really bad ones, just add all this extra exposition when people aren't talking because Americans are too dumb to get it.
But basically, like, the drawing is, like, awesome Tezuka, like, characters are drawn, like, awesomely and such, and it's even though it's black and white, but the animation is the horrendous, which the poor movement of things. But yeah, it's like watching a Tezuka manga and with bad dubbing.
See, at least we've come a long way. Hinatori looks like Tezuka, but it's also animated beautifully.
Yes. So, if you've never watched The Astro Boy, watch The Astro Boy because it's worth it, and you should.
So, Otakon 2007, we were there.
We were there. Were you there?
Actually, a lot of you were there. We ran into a lot of Geeknights listeners. I was happily surprised.
And apparently there were Geeknights listeners there who saw us and then didn't say anything.
There was one group of two girls who I wasn't sure, but I ran out of a panel and I was bolting toward a bathroom because I had to pee. I had to pee like I've never had to pee before.
That happened to me twice at the con. I had to pee and I couldn't.
Yeah, because we're on a panel or something.
Yep.
So I'm running to the bathroom and I hear two girls go, hi, and I was like, there's no way they were saying hi to me. And I just kept running and I peed. And
there was that one guy on Friday, like early in the day, where you're just walking back and forth across the con because there's nothing to do. And we were walking down the stairs, and he was like, you're Rim and Scott. You guys are awesome. And that's all he said.
You know what? That's the kind of thing I like because I have done that to people or guests at cons that I've liked in the past.
I've also done that to people. I've actually waited in line at people's tables to say, you're so-and-so, you're awesome, bye.
That was the primary thing I do at the Mocha is go to every artist I like and be like, man, I really like your stuff. See ya.
Yep.
Or maybe, will you sign the book I just bought from you?
I don't really care about signing, but I'll usually buy stuff from them. That
I only go
yet.
for the signature if it's someone who will draw something in it on the fly.
See, I'll just go for my pirate book in that case.
Yeah, the pirate book that you didn't really do much with at Otakon.
There wasn't so much that looked like I wanted to do.
Are you kidding? That was like the best artist alley ever. There were a lot of amazing artists who could have drawn some piratey action.
None of them really suited my fancy.
I'm sure.
No, notice I didn't buy much in the Artist Alley.
The only reason I didn't buy much is because I already own more art than I have wall space for.
Yeah, the Artist Alley. Wow, the Artist Alley. Okay, the Artist Alley is, well, let's start with Thursday and then move on.
All right, so I bring this part up. I mean, I don't want to get into all the meta stuff about the crew and what we did when we weren't at the con and all that business and the road trip down because while that's fun, that's not really an Otakon con report, and we got enough to talk about as it is. We'll talk about all that tomorrow.
So, the Reg line.
Well, before that, normally our tradition has been to get to Baltimore by noon on Thursday. Check into the hotel, even though we can't get our rooms. Make sure we get the exact rooms we want, next to an elevator on the pool floor, next to each other with the doors open between them and all that business. And then we nap for like 3 hours. This year, we were tired, and we decided to leave a little later. We didn't actually get into Baltimore until about 2:30. I requested early check-in, so we could still check in right about then. Getting to Baltimore later than 2:30 pretty much fucks you at this point. Because the hotel's just... It goes from perfect empty hotel where I walk up, check in, get exactly what I want, to line of otaku, all of whom have problems getting their hotel room.
Mostly, they don't have problems getting their hotel room. There's problems with them. is the problem.
Well, they end up having
The hotel
problems
doesn't have a problem.
getting their hotel rooms because they're trying to pay with cash, or their credit card's maxed out, or they're there early but the friend who got the room isn't there yet,
Or they're stupid.
or they don't understand that there's a hotel tax and they're wondering why the hotel room costs more.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, it's basically problems with them. There's nothing wrong with the hotel. The hotel is operating normally.
But this year, we decided to, since we had the Fancy Pants Morants, go to the absolute front of the line, the reg line that was lined up to get their
I
badges.
forgot about this.
You forgot about this?
Until just now.
People lined up to get their badges on Thursday, and this is something Otakon does every year. It's a great thing. I highly recommend you pre-reg and get your badge Thursday.
Unless you're the kind of person who goes to work Friday and then goes to Otakon. David Joel.
However, there is no reason to line up before this line starts moving.
There's no reason to be in this line at all. I mean, basically the line this year was open from 5 p.m. until, 10 p.m.? So, and the line for Otakon's reg, they are so damn efficient. It moves so fast, right? That even if you're at the end of the crazy line, you'll be inside within the hour, guaranteed. So we showed up at the line at 8, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, something like that. We just walked right in, got badges, and walked out. Well, that's not really what happened.
We would had we not been panelists, we would have gotten our badges in less than 8 minutes.
Pretty much. So if you don't like waiting in lines, because, I mean, if you're the kind of person who says, I'm going to wait in the line to have fun, go nuts. Wait in the line to have fun, waiting in line. But if you don't like waiting in line, there is no reason to ever wait in a line at Otakon if you go Thursday.
I mean, because a lot of people lined up. I'd say thousands and thousands.
Perhaps at least 1,000 people lined up.
And they waited there for hours for no reason, because once the reg line opens, it takes them about an hour to churn through all the idiots who are already in line. Then there's just no wait for the rest of the night, because there's
like
just no
4
wait.
hours of walk in and get your badge immediately time. And
So by the same token, anyone who ever complains about the pre-reg line at Otakon,
they were allowed to complain in years past, but since last year, complaining is all over.
yeah, I'm going to say it straight up. If you think that line is bad, you're an idiot. That's the best a con line could ever be.
I mean, the line isn't perfect, because if it was perfect, everyone would immediately get their badge, and there would be one reg person for every single person who wanted a badge, and they would have one badge and personally hand it to you. But that is the best reg line of any convention probably in the world. Okay, so
we went right before they opened the doors, like at the final hour, to the very front of this line to see what kind of crazy wacko had been waiting there. Now, we recorded 2 little interviews. I'm going to start with the second person in line, because he gave the answer that I expected someone to give. And it's not that interesting, but at the same time, at least he has a fairly legitimate reason for being there. So we're here at the front of the pre-reg line to Otakon.
We are.
And what is your name?
Zach Strange.
So how many hours have you been standing here or sitting here?
I have lost count. I got here at midnight.
Midnight. Now, why? That's kind of the open-ended question. Why are you here?
That's a good question. Actually, I come out to hang out with the other fans that show up early, and that way I can sit under the cover, so I'm not getting rained on and sitting in the sun. So.
So you're going to get into the con obviously early tomorrow. What's the first thing you're going to do when you get in there?
I don't know until I see the schedule. I will be planning that tonight.
Are you aware the schedule is online before the convention?
Yeah, but things always sometimes change at the very end, so I like to look at the updates. I don't like to plan ahead too much because they usually end up changing something or another up.
Are you aware that if you just showed up at 8 p.m. tonight, you'd just be able to walk in and get your badge without waiting, probably?
Yeah, but what fun would that have been? I wouldn't have been able to stand around talking to all these guys.
That's the right answer.
Now, the person in front of him, I don't know if I should say what this was about or if we should just let the interview speak for itself.
I think we'll just let the interview speak for itself and say, much to our surprise, the person who waited in the front of the line for no reason, we thought for no reason, to get into Otakon, get their badge stupidly early, was not there for no reason, and they were not so stupid.
All I hope is that I hope that he told the people at Otakon what he was there for, because I'm sure they would have at least done something nice for him.
Yeah.
And 2, I hope he doesn't die.
All right, so what's your name?
Christopher Forner.
And what time did you get in line?
4 p.m. yesterday.
4 p.m. yesterday?
Yes.
Are you aware that the line is going to be open from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight?
Yes. The sheer irony of it all is, though, I won't be actually going to Otakon. Friday, I ship out 7 a.m. in the morning.
So, why are you waiting in line so long if you're not going to the con?
To show my dedication to Otakon.
That's a pretty strong statement right there.
Damn.
All right, let's move on.
I think the sentiment there speaks for itself. That is a man who was dedicated to his anime.
So, a couple hours later, after hanging out in the pool, or before hanging out in the pool, I don't remember, we went to get our badges, and which would have taken probably 5 minutes because we went in at like 7 or 8, and we just would have walked in and walked out, bam. But we were panelists, and they had a problem with their crazy Microsoft registration system.
Now, funnily, Gerald walks by while we're in the problem line.
Yep.
And we're like, yeah, there's a problem with panelist badges. But he decided to get the press badge, which I don't think is worth it still, because I looked at the privileges the press get, and that is totally mitigated by the fact that you generally have to interview uninteresting people who may or may not show up.
Yeah, they have these press events you get to go to, which is like you go to a room where some guests show up and you talk to them, and no one else is there but the press. And I really don't care about going to those, and press badge doesn't seem to get you anything else other than, I guess you're allowed to go into a few places in order to question people out, but
There was one time it would have been useful. We wanted to interview some people in line for the dealer's room, and the staffer wouldn't let us through because we weren't press.
yep, that was about it.
But totally not worth it. Though I guess we could get the press badge and then just blow off all the things
I
they try to
would
make
like
us do.
to get the press badge. I would like to get every badge. Sort of have like the Otakon God badge, like a staff badge.
Wouldn't that just be Jim Vile's badge?
I don't know. I'd be staff. I'd be a normal registrant. I'd be a panelist. I'd be in the artist alley. I would be a dealer and a press person all at once. Do you think I could manage doing all those things at once?
We could get a table in the dealer's room.
I mean, all we have to do for some of those is spend money, right? So it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, so we had a problem. The problem was abated quickly enough.
yeah, suffice to say, every year, for some reason, panels, and I mean, this year there were panel problems. We'll get to that. But even in past years, it's never clear how panelists should get their badges or how they're going to get comped or what's going on. It used to be that they just gave you an associate's badge. And I gotta say, I really think they should go back to that system.
Well, I don't necessarily think that we need a special, different badge than other people.
Well, the idea that back then, when you were a panelist, you didn't have to go through registration. You just went in to panel ops, found the panel's dude, and he had a pile of badges. He talked to you, and if he believed that you were the person who was supposed to be there, he gave you as many badges as he saw fit, and that was the end of it.
I think that is a good thing, because they have problems with panelists not showing up, panelists being late, panelists not knowing what to do, panelists not being prepared. Forcing every panelist, as they arrive to the convention, to go to panel ops to get their badge, right, allows panel ops to check up on them, make sure that they're the real deal. They'll know if a panelist doesn't show up. They'll know all these things. And I think that alone would be a good thing, to just force the panelists to show up to panel ops so that panel ops could connect with them and make sure everything's cool and be on the level. We don't need a special different badge, but panel ops should just have the badges of all the panelists with their names already on them and then hand them out. And I think that would be a good thing.
Now, barring that,
And I don't say that because I want to skip in line either, because line takes 5 minutes. I don't care.
yeah, even though we ended up having to stand in the trouble line, which took forever.
Until someone finally came and triaged it.
Yeah, they really needed more triage in that line to walk, because most of the people in that line either were dumb and just screwed up the online web form or didn't actually pay, or were us who had a legitimate problem.
Yes, I think all they need to do is, since the reg moves so fast, you can make like a few more problem lines than just one. And
Just
you can
don't-
also have someone constantly triaging the problem line. And that would take, 2 extra people? Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially when, after an hour or two, all the reg people are just kind of sitting around like, yep, someone else is handling all of it.
Or in the very least, if they could have set it up, if they didn't do the special badges, instead of making every panelist say they're going to pay by check and then not pay and ghettoize it, it shouldn't be that hard to add a comped button to the system, and you just pick like, I am a panelist.
And then someone on the other end says, yes, they are, or no, they aren't. You're deleted.
Yeah.
All right.
Granted, I think the best system, at least from, I mean, not from a con perspective, but from my perspective, is still Kineticon, where I walked in and said, hi, I'm a guest, and they said, here's your guest badge.
Yep. And
They didn't even ask me who I was.
Nope.
If I was the shady person, I probably could have gotten a badge. But,
Probably. But they asked, what are our names, and gave us our itineraries, which if we were not guests, we would not have gotten our itineraries.
True.
And they would have said, hey, you're not guests. Yoink.
But still, I'm reasonably certain that I personally, maybe not some guy off the street, could have talked my way into a badge.
Easily could have talked my way
Regardless,
into a badge.
I don't think I've gone to a con in recent memory where I didn't get a con badge for legitimate reasons.
Yep. All right, so that's the end of the con badges. We spent too much time on
Well,
them.
no, they had con badge designs this year were much improved over last year.
Yes, they definitely spanned all genres, as opposed to last year where they were mostly anime no one cared about in very few genres.
Yeah, so props to them. I took the Paprika badge, as
I
did
also took the Paprika badge.
everyone who was smart.
There was
or
another
cool.
There was another respectable badge. I just forget what it was.
Well, there's the Razafon one.
That one was all right. I don't know why they picked Razavon. Sort of an old show.
I'd rather them pick Razafon that people at least know than whatever crap anime some industry guy's trying
How
to
about
promote this
a
year.
Gundam badge? Gundam? There was a Gundam seed badge once. I have it.
Well, I am of the mind that Otakon should, regardless, make a deal with
How
the
about an
industry.
Astro Boy badge?
There should always be one Gundam badge. I don't care what Gundam it's from, but there should always be a Gundam badge.
There should always be a Tezuka badge. There should always be a Dragon Ball badge. There should always,
well, maybe not Dragon Ball, but Shonen Fighting of the decade, whatever show
Yep.
it is.
There should be, you got to do one of each. I know that they go through some sort of process to determine what badges to make that involves getting rights for the pictures and such, and that it's not always easy. But, come on, there should always be one Studio Ghibli badge. Get with the program, people. All right.
Regardless, there's nothing wrong with the badges. It worked out just fine.
Yep, just fine.
We had our Geeknights pool party in the pool, which was awesome.
Yep.
And then we retired to our non-overbooked, semi-private hotel rooms.
Ooh.
I'll talk about that on Thursday. Thursday.
Okay.
But suffice to say,
Tomorrow.
I'm well beyond the cram as many people into a hotel room as I can to save money.
Yeah, all I can say is that in the college days when you're poor and you care more about money than anything else because that's your most limited resource, you want to cram as many people into a hotel room as you possibly can without getting in trouble to save money.
Oh, the other thing Thursday, we were able to check in for our Artist Alley table.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
That was fantastic. And the fact that if we'd wanted to, we could have fully set up the Artist Alley table that night, mad awesome.
Very awesome. I wonder why they don't do that. I guess they do it for the dealer's room to some extent, but then why does the dealer's room open so late Saturday? Friday.
I think part of the reason is to get people into the con and all that first. And, of course, the dealer's room line that they set up keeps a lot of weirdos out of the way of the rest of the con.
Well, I'm going to talk about... All right, let's talk about that right now. They changed the layout of the con this year. What they did is because they didn't have the arena available to them, they needed main events that could handle the cosplay. And there was a big main events. Thus, they moved main events from the upstairs, where it usually is, to the downstairs. Thus, they had to move the dealer's room to a different location downstairs, and also move the Artist Alley to where the dealer's room used to be.
A lot of people at the con didn't realize anything had moved.
Well, people didn't realize something had moved because they weren't so familiar with the layout. But people who had been there for many years and observant people noticed, like we did, and people who had never been there before didn't know a thing changed at all.
Now, here's what I have to say about that. Otakon, I'm saying this directly to you. Don't change what you just changed. It was great.
Do not change it at all. This layout, even if main events was at the arena, this layout was 1,000 times superior to any previous layout.
Yes, keep the secondary main events as a backup main events or something. Keep
Or
everything
make more
exactly-
panel rooms or video rooms. I don't know. But
Yeah.
do not change the layout. Keep the dealers. The main thing, the reason this layout was so great, right, is number one, the Artist Alley usually has like all its tables and all its art show, and then it sort of has this dead space. The Artist Alley this year, because it was in the slanted former dealer's room, it used all of its space effectively and was awesome. Secondly, because the dealer's room was in a new space, the entrance to the dealer's room was not directly next to the exit. You passed through the dealer's room from one end to the other, and the exit to the dealer's room was under the reg space, which is a very much unused space at the con. So anyone leaving the dealer's room was going into an area that basically had zero traffic, and con traffic flow was improved exponentially.
Now, not just because now there's this better flow, but also that space was now open for con goers to be in. And that space, while it wasn't that big, there were a lot of people just chilling there, and it kept them from chilling in the way of other people.
It was basically there was a spot in the giant convention center that was unused that was now used, and that it just makes things better all around.
Also, just the dealer's room layout worked better. The artist alley layout was perfect.
There's only one thing I can say bad about this layout, is that because the dealer's room layout was great, but because of the way it was done, there was one sort of dead spot in the dealer's room where there wasn't so many people going, and the dealers there were kind of like, grr, no one's over in this area because we're sort of in the dark corner, grr.
Yeah, but that's such a well,
That was like 10 dealers, maybe.
from
So-
a fan perspective, no one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
But from Otakon perspective, worst case.
Actually, the last unicorn guy was hidden over in that area, so I wonder if he was happy or sad about that.
But seriously, Otakon, don't change it. It was perfect.
Do not change. All right. So, Friday morning. Friday morning, we're very glad to have that Artist Alley table because, for us at least, there wasn't much in the way of events at the con we were interested in doing.
We tried to go to a bunch of panels, and they were all already full to capacity.
Or uninteresting to us. I mean, we probably could have gone and should have gone to the OC Remix panel, which sort of opens the con, and it was really fun last year, but for whatever reason, we just didn't go to it.
Well, plus we had to meet Aaron and Noah, and
That's right, we had to meet people.
And Gerald.
Yeah. So we
And
sort of
Yuko
missed
and
out
Anna.
on the one thing that would have entertained us Friday morning at the con. The only problems Friday morning at the con were, number one, we discovered that, some of the escalators were out of commission and were not allowed to be used as stairs, which they do have legitimate reasons for doing that, but still annoying.
basically, though, the way it worked out is all the escalators in the middle of the con to get between the levels were closed off. As a result, there was basically this super highway on the upper floors to get across the whole con if you wanted to go anywhere.
Yep, and of course, as the same case last year, the convention center people seem to have a problem understanding that when the con opens, and there's not just one door that you're going to let all these people into. The con is open. Let me in. I have a badge. Obviously, early on Friday, some of the entrances need to remain closed because of the registration line of people who did not get their badges on Thursday.
Or the forming dealer's room line, which we'll talk about.
Yes. But there are some entrances, especially the Harbor food court mall side skyway entrance. Open it up immediately. Goddamn.
Every year, Otakon says it'll be open, and every year there's some BCC guy in a red shirt getting kind of angry and telling people constantly to go away. You can't come in this way. Why do you people keep coming to this door?
And it takes like a few hours until they finally straighten that out and they let people in that entrance, which they should be doing. Also, there's the entrance, there's the part, I forget what, I should really learn the lobby names, which everyone uses but us.
There's the outer beam.
Yeah, I know the names, but I don't know which one is which.
See, the thing is, the real names are the registration lobby and the cosplayer lobby.
No, I'm talking about the lobbies like in the middle where the street goes through the convention center, and you can cross the street under the mid convention center skywalk to get from one half of the convention center to the other.
Well, that little street there, on Friday, they blocked it to traffic, and that was fantastic.
Well, they blocked it to traffic for some of the time, right, which was good. But then later in the convention, it was open.
It seemed like most of Friday it was closed, but then Saturday the road was open again.
And then at one point, it was open, but they had a really awesome crossing guard.
Oh, I
there.
forgot about that guy. There's some BCC guy who was directing
I
traffic.
think he was actually a traffic cop.
No, he was wearing the red BCC thing.
I think he was wearing an orange thing. Whatever.
He had an orange
It doesn't
vest.
matter who he worked for. He was awesome.
He had an orange vest over his BCC uniform.
Whatever. He was an awesome traffic directing guy.
He was really getting into it, and the crowd was cheering for him, and I wanted to interview him and shake his hand. I just never got around to it.
Yep.
All I got to say is I saw him like 4 hours later. He kept that energy up all day.
Awesome. You got to have fun with a boring job like that. But the ability to cross that street is very important because if you do not have that ability, the only way to get from one side of the convention center to the other is to go all the way to the top floor, cross, and then come. So if you want to get from the downstairs of one side to the downstairs of the other side, it sucks if you can't cross that street. So obviously, you can't have that open early Friday when the reg line is still in effect. But as soon as the reg line is over, that needs to open immediately and stay open.
Now, the problem wasn't that they didn't open it right away. The problem was that it seemed like randomly throughout the days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the BCC would just suddenly close that door for no reason and not let anyone through for an hour.
Or
And then,
open it and close it and open it and close it. I would prefer if that street remained closed for the entirety of the con's open hours.
well, even if the street were closed, if the doors were open.
The doors need to be open when the reg line's not. As soon as
Now,
the reg line is gone.
I asked a couple BCC people, and off the record, they said that it was some union problem with like hours worked.
It seems like a lot of things are always union problems, and yeah.
But of course, we can't blame Otakon for that at all. They have no say.
No, but I think what the problem is communication, because Otakon obviously wants what we want, as far as I can tell. There just needs to, I think, better communication between Otakon and the BCC in the openings and closings of doors.
I don't know. I have this feeling that Otakon probably communicates properly, and the BCC just doesn't care.
Well, then it's communication between. You could yell at a wall all day. The wall needs to be better.
Nah.
I don't know which end is failing the communication, but the communication is failing regardless of which end
Though,
is the problem.
speaking of unions, there was always been the problem with the BCC with the food was always like outrageously expensive and for business travelers and really, really crappy, and there's rules against bringing
and the
external
food was
in.
not food that we wanted to eat.
Well, last year at Otakon, Jim made a big deal about, all right, we got them to lower the prices. They're going to work with us. And they tried. They lowered the prices. It was still way too expensive for what you got and kind of crappy. This year, it was fine. The food the prices were perfectly reasonable. The food was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't perfectly reasonable.
Yes, it was.
It was a little bit. It was like baseball park prices.
It was less than that.
It's a price that you're willing to pay, but it's still a lot more money than going to the food court and a real food place outside.
It wasn't really, I don't know what you're thinking. It wasn't nearly as
$4
expensive.
for a ramen.
The ramen is marked up. However, like the normal snacks,
$2 for a Pocky.
$2 for a Pocky is not that bad.
That's pretty bad.
Not really.
Yeah.
It's like $1.90 in the grocery store.
No, it's not. It's $1.
It's $1.90 in our grocery
It
store.
doesn't matter. The prices are
Fine.
they're better than they've ever been.
They're
and
fine.
They're fine, but they're still not the price of the grocery store. They're still
Scott,
not the price of a food court.
Nothing's going to be the price of a grocery store, and the prices for the food were actually really close to the prices at the food court.
Yeah, there's still. I won't be 100% satisfied unless the prices are such that I will not leave the convention center because the price is so reasonable. And the prices were not that low.
I actually ate a lot of the food, and I thought the prices were perfectly fine.
$4 for ramen.
Ramen is marked up. That's a completely
For
separate
$4,
issue.
I can get 2 cases of ramen.
Yeah, but you know what? You could buy a soda for practically nothing.
I'm just saying they're not 100% reasonable.
The only thing that was unreasonable was the ramen that was marked up.
It was all too many dollars for a hot dog. I forget the exact price.
It wasn't
but
that much money.
It wasn't that much money, but it was
I
still
ate
too much money.
several meals in the convention center. The prices were far less than I pay for food at a baseball game.
They weren't far less than a baseball game. They're
Yes,
about
they
equal.
were.
Nah.
You didn't even go to any of those places. You didn't even go to the food court.
I should have taken a picture of the food price sign as I did last year.
You didn't even go to those places and eat like I did.
I saw what the prices were. It didn't matter.
Uh-huh. What were they?
I forget.
Yeah.
I remember the ramen was $4.
Yeah. Regardless of what Scott says, I think the prices are fine, and Otakon did a really good job of getting
They
that
did do
together.
a really good job of getting the prices lowered. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying the prices are lower than they've ever been, and that some of the prices were so low I would have been willing to actually pay them. But they are still not low enough for me to actually eat in the con and not leave and get
I
food
think what you
elsewhere.
want is unreasonable and unattainable.
The same price I pay at the grocery store? I don't think that's
Scott,
unreasonable.
you're not going to find no store other than a grocery store sells food for grocery store
The same
prices.
price I pay at the food court?
The food court's food is actually really overpriced and expensive.
I don't know, $5 for a whole meal. That's not bad. That's pretty much what you
Yeah,
pay.
if you get that crappy like China bowl, whatever.
I like that. It's good stuff.
That's nasty food.
Whatever. The food in the convention center is better, right?
Yeah, actually, I'd say so. It's better than that one China bowl, whatever.
I like that wok place.
That's really bad Chinese food.
I like it. It's really tasty.
I stopped eating there like 4 years ago because that food is just garbage.
The Italian place over there is actually good, though.
No, it's super overpriced.
No, it's not.
It's like $3 for a slice of cheese pizza.
No, it's not. It's like $2 for a slice of pizza, and
Ah.
it's $3 for a stromboli, if I remember. Which
a
is not-
crappy stromboli.
No, it's an awesome stromboli.
No, that's like Sabaro's pizza.
Okay, whatever. Let's continue.
All right. Well, what do you want to continue with, Hotshot?
Well, let's see.
Oh, yeah. What?
Friday, the morning, not so hot.
What are you talking about? The morning was great. We went straight to our luxury box in the Artist Alley and hit there.
Exactly. Because there was nothing exciting to do for us Friday morning early in the con because we skipped the OC Remix panel. we ended up spending a lot of time in Artist Alley before it opened up, and that was a lot of fun because relaxing, quiet at the con.
To me, even if you're not selling anything in the Artist Alley and you don't even want to be there, paying for an Artist Alley table,
which is what, $75?
is 70, I think.
All right.
Is basically paying for a luxury box at Otakon, a place to go hide, a place to sit and relax and eat your food.
Yeah, so even though our Artist Alley table was kind of because we weren't even doing art, we were just giving away free flyers and doing other stupid shit.
Granted, I think it was actually far from because a lot of people came and talked to us, especially Saturday after the Gekiga panel that happened Friday night. The number of people who came to us specifically to tell us how awesome our panel was staggering.
It was. However, it's good times just sitting there, just going,
Hanging out with the other artists. There were cool people on both sides of us.
Yep. All right.
We're thinking next year we're going to get all of our friends and try to reserve either half of or possibly most of one of those Artist Alley islands.
We'll figure out how many tables we're going to get, and we'll get them all adjoining, and we'll basically get a whole mess of tables, and all the podcasters and all the front row crew peoples will have like this giant Artist Alley like row, like an alley within the alley of awesome. And we can do awesome stuff in the middle too if we get that much space. It'll be pretty cool. All right. What else is going down?
Well,
you want to
Friday-
skip right to our panels?
Friday we
night?
did 3 of our 4 panels, and it was a light panel load, not like the 7 we did at Kineticon.
Yep. Especially since I didn't have to do much for 1.5 of the panels.
Yep. There was the Podcasters Roundtable, which was all right.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the Ninja Consultants did this panel, and all the podcasters got up on stage.
I will say I think too many people were on stage. It should have been
I agree.
much smaller.
We should have had maybe 6 people at most, I'd say.
Yeah.
But basically, we went around and talked about podcasting for an hour, and the audience said stuff, and we had a good old jolly time, talking to each other on stage.
Granted, most of it was like
Dave.
Scott, Dave, and Joel talking to each other and ignoring the panel.
Well, because me, Dave, Joel, and Gerald were all sitting on the way end of the row, and we only had one microphone between us, so we could say things without them being heard. So we were all whispering to each other and making jokes while everyone else was being serious about the panel, and it was fun times.
Though I got to admit, my favorite awkward moment was when she basically asked everyone, so what anime or manga or comic or video game, whatever related podcast you guys listen to or like? And Dave and Joel are like, nothing. And then we're like,
Derek the Bandit, Sound Republic.
That's not anime related. Damn straight. I gave a shout
12
out.
Byzantine Emperors.
I gave a mad shout out to 12 Byzantine Emperors. And they're like, but don't you like any anime podcasts? I'm like, no. Except for us.
Anime World Order and Dave and Joel.
Yeah.
And Ninja Consultants were like, you don't like us? And I was like, I listen to you sometimes, which I do listen to them sometimes.
You
but
know, I've never actually listened to them, I'll be honest.
they don't put out too many shows, and some of their shows I'm not interested in. But when they do put out a show that I'm interested in, I check their website maybe once every couple weeks.
I've never listened to the Ninja Consultants. I listened to R5 Central once when Gerald
I never
or
listened to
Daryl
R5
told me
Central.
to. I listened once to figure out what it was about.
I might listen to it. I guess he did an Otakon report, or he's gonna, so maybe I'll listen to that. I'll pretty much listen to any Otakon report podcast. So if anyone out there has a podcast with an Otakon report, I will listen to it. Except this one, because
Everyone recorded the panel. We probably have the best audio of anyone because it was just people putting their recorders in the middle of the table.
Yeah, they put like their iRivers and their creative Zens like on the table and push the button, and we put our Marantz on the table and push the button.
Now, I will say, this isn't really a complaint about Otakon, but I gotta say, while the people who do all the sound and audio-visual setup for all the rooms do a fantastic job of...
There's a company called DSL, and at Otakon, Otakon basically pays this company what must be $1 bajillion, right? And this company provides all of the audio-visual equipment for everything at Otakon, from main events to the lowliest panel room, and they do a good job. And
These guys know their stuff.
They're worth what Otakon pays them.
Yeah, so I gotta say, anytime you see a panelist at Otakon who has trouble with their audio or trouble with their video and their laptop, it is their fault and not Otakon's, because Otakon's got their shit together.
Well, DSL has their shit together, and Otakon just says, DSL, handle it.
Otakon,
That's what
therefore,
we pay you
by
for.
proxy, has their shit together.
Exactly.
But DSL, for 2 years running, does not have the ability to give me a feed from their equipment to record. Every year I say,
well, they
hey,
do. It's just low quality.
No, they don't. Not low quality, non-existent quality. Every year they say, hey, here, we'll give you a mono feed. Is XLR okay? And I think, oh, great. and then I plug it in, and I discover that the signal to noise ratio is to the point that you can't hear anything but static.
I think the problem is that the equipment DSL uses is meant for, being PA in a room and making a loud noise turning a quiet noise into a loud noise so a lot of people can hear it. And their equipment is used heavily, shipped around a lot. It's beat up and old, and they basically don't replace anything unless they absolutely have to, and it's not working. So the feature of being able to record the feed to a recording device is not something they care about at all. And thus, a lot of their mixers are old and slightly combusted and will provide very noisy outputs for recording, especially since there's a lot of amplification going on, which is their primary purpose, is amplification.
Yep. Now, the best part was the guy was like, well, you sure your equipment's good? Because I think I am giving you a fine signal. And I am absolutely certain that the guy was giving me nothing but static.
Yeah, I was giving you static.
He tried to play it off like, you should put a pad in front of it. My signal might be too strong for you. And I
That
was like,
is
dude,
slightly possible.
no, it's not. I humored him and tried it. And, of course, all that did was make the static 20 decibels quieter.
Yep. Anyway, the only complaint I can have about the AV at Otakon is that in a lot of the rooms, they have speakers in the front turned up way loud so that the audio can be heard in the back. The result is if you sit in the way back, you can hear, but you can't see. And if you sit in the way front, you can see, but hearing is kind of bad. Plus, there's no stadium seating anywhere at Otakon. So you can see, but if a tall guy with a cosplay sits in front of you, forget about it.
All they need to do is stagger the chairs.
They
50%.
need to stagger the chairs, and even if it costs a lot more money, it's worth it to pay to put speakers in the back and possibly the sides of the larger rooms so that the volume is even throughout instead of, normal versus my ears hurt.
Well, at the same time, the real problem is that the vast majority of people who do anything at Otakon don't know how to use a microphone. And they either get way too close to the microphone.
I'm talking more about video rooms with the audio.
Yeah,
front
I
and the
avoid
back.
video rooms, but I
Yeah.
heard those complaints. But in terms of panels, everyone, grabbed the microphone and tried to swallow it. And as a result, everything was booming and loud and echoing and horrible.
There really needs to be some sort of thing where people use microphones properly. I mean, at the podcasting panel, there was some guy sitting next to us who I didn't know. He's the only guy on the panel I didn't know. And I was trying, every time he talked, he would lean up on the table to get into the microphone. I'd be like, dude, just sit still. The microphone is close enough.
He pretty much ignored
I told
you.
him like 3 times, and he didn't listen to me.
I started pulling the microphone away from him, and he just kept leaning further and further over the table.
I don't know what his problem was. Was he just deaf? I don't know. He's a podcaster. He can't be deaf.
I don't know. I've listened to a lot of podcasts in my day.
Oh.
Oh.
All right, so that was that panel.
Yeah, it was all right. It was fun.
Yep. They did the Anime Club panel, which did not involve us, actually.
Well, it involved me.
Yeah.
The thing is, our friend Scott Johnson ran it, and he's been in New Type before. He knows his shit when it comes to running anime clubs.
He does know his
And
shit when
actually,
it comes to running Anime Clubs.
After all of our prodding, he has finally started to work on his website to tell everyone exactly how to run an anime club, because he pretty much knows exactly how to run an anime club, down to every single detail.
Yep.
But I will say, through not much fault of his own, the Anime Club Summit that was run at Otakon was pretty damn piss poor, and I was kind of embarrassed to be on it.
Yeah, I was sitting there in the audience kind of playing my DS and going,
I was sitting to the side, far away from everyone else, kind of lounging, drinking something that looked suspiciously like water, but might not have been. And basically, it was, he'd say something. The other panelists would kind of sit there, or they'd kind of mumble a little bit, or they'd ramble a nonsensical story for a while. And then I'd be like, well, here's the deal. And I'd tell the whole deal, and the whole crowd would laugh. And then Skojo would say something, the whole crowd would laugh, and everyone else was just kind of there.
Yeah, basically the people there were kind of nervous, not quick on their feet.
I know that they know their stuff. They need to, I'm going to be perfectly honest, they need to be
Take
better
public speaking
at
classes?
public speaking.
Yes.
The panel should have just been me and Scott Johnson. Or
Yeah.
just Scott Johnson. He
Yeah.
alone could have done that panel.
Yeah, a lot of those people on that panel are there because they run big anime clubs and they have lots of experience and knowledge, but public speaking skills, preparation for the panel, not so much.
Yes. And I was so bad because I could tell Skojo would say something like blah, blah, blah. And we've run these panels before, expecting someone on the panel to pick up and continue the thought. and they just kind of sit there. And then everyone would look at me, and I'd be like, well, and talk for 10 minutes.
You could have done the panel on your own. We did the panel, I think, excellently at Connecticut.
I gotta say, the anime club panel Scott and I ran at Connecticut was probably the best anime club panel
Scott,
ever
me,
run.
not Scott Johnson.
Yes, this Scott.
Yes.
Though if Scott Johnson had been there, the panel would have only been better because he does know his stuff.
Yep. I think that the key is to get one person, someone on the panel who knows enough and knows what topics to discuss, right? And is good at public speaking. And if there's someone with the knowledge who isn't good at public speaking, then the public speaking person can manage them and get them to reveal their knowledge in a good way without having them ruin the panel with their poor public speaking.
The other thing is, and Scott Johnson and I disagree on this, don't let the audience talk. They're just going to ask stupid questions or try to plug their own club or plug their own stuff or try to sound smart. If you want to take questions from the audience in a panel like that, have someone with a wireless mic go around like I did in the Kendo panel, talk to the people off the microphone while the panel's going on, find out what their question is, and then decide if they are going to be given the mic or if you are going to ask the question for them.
That should be done in every panel ever, period.
Now, were I Otakon, I would find people, I wonder who's volunteered to do panel stuff for Otakon for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Find people who would be willing to go to a bunch of panels, take the wireless mic around, moderate, officiate, MC, and take questions for the panelists. Because I gotta say, almost no panelists at Otakon who aren't industry know anything about dealing with a crowd. They might know their stuff and do a good panel, but they don't know how to take questions from a crowd. And actually, there were a lot of complaints about just that at the con feedback session.
Another problem is that actually a lot of panels, they take questions from the crowd without a microphone at all, so no one can hear what the crowd is saying at all. Like when we were asking questions at the Bandai Visual panel, I watched the video recording of the Bandai Visual panel on Anime News Network. Well, I skimmed through it. I didn't watch the whole thing. And you couldn't hear any audience question at all because they never gave the audience the microphone to ask questions. You yelled it out, and not everyone is loud.
We should probably talk about that panel briefly.
All right.
So Bandai Visual did their thing, and of course, pretty much everyone in the room was there specifically to call them out on the pricing again.
So you know, Bandai Visual is an American company that releases anime. They're pretty new. They're not the same as Bandai Entertainment. They have nothing to do with like the Gundam Seed release or the Cowboy Bebop release or anything like that. They're releasing basically these awesome, mostly awesome anime shows that are kind of old and that we really like the Gunbuster and the what other ones? I forget, but mostly Gunbuster, as well as other awesome animes. Pat Labor, yeah, I forget. But they're releasing many awesome animes that we want to watch. The problem is they're releasing them in Freedom, obviously. They're releasing them in a format which we don't give a shit about. They are releasing them in like super HD, super high quality, amazing whatevers for like $40 for 2 episodes. It's ludicrous.
Now, there have been famous panels at other cons where people called this guy out.
Yeah, at SakuraCon, they called this guy out. And basically, when the same guy was doing the same panel, and he's like, yeah, at SakuraCon, I had a trouble, blah, blah, blah. And he pretty much said, we will not change the price.
Yep, but the question was asked like 4 different times at the panel. And he kind of just basically said, yeah, we know. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, the question I asked was, I understand you're not going to change the price, but you understand that there are other anime companies which are selling like 26 episodes for $30, and you're selling 5 episodes for $50. You understand this?
5 episodes, more like 2.
Well, there was one disc in particular. They were selling 5 episodes for $50. I think it's one of their cheaper discs, actually. And I was like, you understand this, right? And he was like, yep, I'm like, all right. I'm Netflixing your shit and not buying it.
Yep. But I asked a question about renting and Netflix and all that sort of thing, and he didn't really understand it, and he answered a different question. But
yeah.
The thing is, a lot of people give this guy grief, and he's doing the best he can. It's not his fault. He's a pretty nice guy.
He is the head of Bandai Visual, though. He should...
I have a feeling that the company realizes that they have possibly made a mistake, and for whatever reason can't back down now.
I don't know. Maybe they've already made some decisions and it's too late. Whatever. The point is, Bandai Visual, rent all their anime. If an anime is put out by Bandai Visual, rent it and watch it. Don't buy it unless it gets really cheap in a bargain bin.
I recorded the whole panel. I'm not going to bother playing it.
You can watch the whole panel on Anime News Network in video.
Yeah. Mostly, I recorded just about everything at Otakon. Not for you guys, but just for our own reference.
Yep. Okay, so now let's talk about the important panel.
So, Friday night.
After the podcast, immediately after the podcasting
Yes,
panel.
as an 18 plus, and we had an awesome staffer who helped us work all that out.
Yep.
I wish I knew that guy's name.
Let's talk about 18 plus at Otakon for a second.
All right.
At Otakon, some events are 18 plus, which means you need to be 18 years or older to get in. Usually, these are hentai panels and such. In order to get into these panels, you can't just show up at the panel with your ID. The reasoning behind this is that they don't want to have someone at the door checking ID because it takes forever. They would rather have you check ID at some other point in time at some other place. Then they give you a wristband, and then it's really easy to check wristbands. It's like, yes, 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 and the panel rooms can go smoothly.
The other reason is that pretty much without fail, all of the 18 plus programming, because it tends to be Friday and Saturday night when everyone's itching to do something, already are going to fill, and a lot of people are going to be turned away. So anything you can do to streamline the process
and not have a giant line at the door.
If someone didn't plan ahead and get their wristband to get in, there are a lot of people who would probably rather see the panel than the one person who decided the last minute to go walk into it.
Yep. So those are the reasons they do it that way. I personally think there could be a better way.
But I'm not sure how.
I'm not sure what it is, and it does solve some problems. I also do think that maybe they could, I don't know, but whatever. It's also, I mean, it is widely publicized that you need to get the wristband, but not widely publicized enough. It could be done a little bit better.
I think they just need to have one big warning in the con book. There probably already is. I didn't read it thoroughly.
There is. It's not super big, but
they
is
need
there.
at least one big sign at the registration line saying...
Maybe they could say something to you when you get your badge.
Ah. Or maybe you could get certified badges or something, but...
Yeah, like when you get your badge, they could be like, are you planning to go to any 18 plus events? And you already showed them your ID when you get your badge, right? So why not, like, put a thing on the badge I guess you can't put a thing on the badge. It has to be a wristband because you could just give your badge to a kid.
Yeah, regardless, it works well enough as they do it.
Yep.
So they cleared the room out. The staffer warned everyone like a bunch of times that it's going to be some sort of horrible offensive panel like these panels always are.
Yep.
Now I'm going to tell you all our secret. Originally, we'd planned to just do this, Scott and I, just like we'd done at Kineticon. And we wanted to make it 18 plus just to guarantee ourselves the awesome Friday or Saturday night time slot. And we weren't planning to do anything really horrible.
Well, the other thing is that we had noticed that in years past, the 18 plus panels at Otakon filled up to the brim with people. So we said, hey, our panels don't usually fill up to the brim. If we made it 18 plus, even if it didn't need to be 18 plus, maybe a bunch of perverts would come, and then we could do a double switch and educate them when they thought they were going to be titillated.
Of course, Gerald really wanted to do this panel with us, and we like Gerald. So we decided to actually go with the 18 plus content and let Gerald do whatever he wanted.
Yes, the idea was we'd lure them in with this awesome 18 plus content and also educate them at the same time. So it would be humorous, I don't know, think titillating, but humorous.
Well, I hope not titillating.
No, it would be humorous and sexually charged and violent and educational all at once so that people would leave our panel being entertained, shocked, and educated and generally have a good feeling about it.
Now, on that front, I think we succeeded because not only did we get a full-on standing ovation, and not only did only 3 people walk out of the panel in disgust.
I wasn't even paying it. That's one thing. When I'm doing a panel, like, I look at the audience, but I'm not paying attention to people coming and going or how many people are there. So it's...
Oh, see, I count people in the panel room. I count how many people come in late. I count how many people leave. I keep an eye on everyone in the panel and see if they're interested. Anyone looks like they're trying to say something. If anyone looks like they're not having a good time.
Yeah, people trying to say something I usually notice because they'll raise their hand or they'll go, up something.
But of the 3 people who stormed out in disgust, one of them stormed out right away, and I think he thought the panel was about something else.
I think I didn't realize this at first, but we titled our panel Gekiga Putting the Man Back in Manga.
I think a lot of people thought it was a yaoi panel.
I didn't even realize that. Like, it didn't even occur to me that it could be misconstrued as a yaoi panel.
2 different people came by the Artist Alley table and said, man, I thought you guys were running a yaoi panel, but what you ran was awesome, so I stayed.
Yep. But yeah, next time we'll just come up with a better name for it.
The other 2 people who walked out in disgust were actually good friends of ours, and they walked out at the very end.
Yeah. So, a lot of people on the internet were actually, oh, that girl sitting in the back. And I was like, that was my friend.
Yeah, so many people came up to us and were like, man, I hope no one complained about your panel. That girl who walked out, she seemed super pissed. And I was like, she's a really good friend of ours. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
I was kind of sad. I wish she'd made more of a stink because I totally wanted to go Orlando Calrissian on her.
Yeah, but anyway, we ran this panel, and since we failed to bring any visual aids, basically me and Rim gave our educational talks about the history of manga, the history of Gekiga, Osamu Tezuka, and all these awesome manga because they're full of politics and Yakuza and things like that.
It was basically the same panel we ran at Kineticon, only I wasn't tired and exhausted, and there were a lot more people.
Yep. So we did that, and interspersed with that, Gerald showed the awesomest scenes from Kazuo Koike mangas.
Awesomest being a relative term.
Exactly. Basically, if you read something like Sanctuary, right? Sanctuary, I'd say 90% of the pages, perhaps 95% of the pages in Sanctuary involve Yakuza, drama, politics, or something along those lines. But 5% of the pages contain some sort of eroticism. You know, sometimes rape, sometimes
a tree,
hookers,
an eyeball,
sometimes people getting shot, and crazy things happen. And that's just the style of these manga, is that there is, very, I guess, not realistic, but wanting to be realistic plots, and they combine it with, when sex happens, when violence happens, they don't hold back in illustrating it.
So basically, it was the three of us being educational for a while, and then Gerald showing the choice bits from a Kazuo Koike manga.
So if you read,
and watching the crowd react to these scenes
was amazing.
Because basically, the crowd would be like, ha ha, hee hee hee, laugh, 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 laugh even louder, laugh riotously, laugh quietly and nervously.
Yeah.
Go ah, but then start laughing.
Because if you read a Kazuo Koike manga that isn't Lone Wolf and Cub, right? You'll notice that, it'll be this very serious, usually historical, sort of melodrama that's pretty awesome. And then when there's a crazy scene will happen, Kazuo Koike just goes all out and does the craziest, most rapinest, violent, fucked up thing you can imagine.
Which is that's Gekiga. That's part of it.
That's part of it. It's not necessary to the, I guess, artistic movement, but that's what Kazuo Koike does. Imagine if, imagine if The Matrix, instead of the scenes with the cool action fighting, were scenes with, just crazy necrophilia something. I don't know.
Now, to quote Gerald, the panel might have been too hardcore for Otakon.
I think the panel was too hardcore for pretty much most anime conventions.
Well,
but that's okay because we're hardcore.
Well, the thing is, the only real issue with our panel, and we realized it after the fact, I didn't think it would have been as big of an issue, is that we were busy and did not prepare our visual aids, partly because we couldn't find our copies of Sanctuary because we're dumb shits. Emily had moved them up.
I still can't find them.
They're right there. They were moved up one shelf.
I just looked. They weren't there.
They're there.
I'm going to go look after the show.
Regardless, Emily moved them up one shelf, and we were stupid and couldn't find them.
All right.
So we didn't come with any visual aids, but Gerald had all of his visual aids.
So, of course, while equal time was given to our educationalness and Gerald's crazy awesomeness, in quotes, the crazy awesomeness seemed to take over the mind share of the panel because it was visual, whereas ours was just us talking.
Granted, it didn't seem to matter because, seriously, the panel was a rousing success, and the number of people who told us it was awesome or demanded that we give them contact information so they could check out our show. We got so many listeners from that panel, good God. And Katsukan was already like, you were running that exact panel at Katsukan.
Aaron Ryder, who is the guy who I think is the head of programming at Katsukan now, right? He was the head of gaming at Katsukan last year.
Whatever he is, he's a big shot, and he's also a really cool guy.
He's awesome. I like him a lot. He's way cool. He helped us out at Katsukan last year awesomely, and he was at our Gekiga panel, and he was awesome. And he's still awesome. Awesome guy, Aaron Ryder. All right, so then we were done for the night. Our panel was like midnight to 1 a.m. We went back to our hotel room. And then Rim's phone rang, but he didn't pick it up because he looked at the phone number. He didn't know who it was. And then my phone rang, so I picked it up. And it was the person from panels at Otakon. And they're like, can you come back to the con? And I was like, I don't know, Rim, can we go back to the con? Obviously, our panel was intense, and we're going to get in trouble.
And I was like, all right, whatever. We'll go back.
So we went back. Badgeless. I didn't bring my badge in case they tried to take it away. I wouldn't have it.
I didn't bring my badge because I didn't think I needed my badge.
Yeah.
Regardless.
We didn't need our badge because the staff person brought us right through.
Yep, so we go back, and they bring us in. And we're like, all right, did people complain about the panel? Which
Are we going to get in trouble? I mean, it was an 18-plus panel. What are we going to get in trouble
for? Well, the thing is, the two reasons why I didn't think we were in trouble is that, one, a few years ago, Otakon showed without an 18-plus anything.
That is another thing.
Ebola syndrome.
I got to say, Otakon, they do this 18-plus panel business, but they show things in the video rooms late at night, Friday and Saturday, with no 18-plus checking. And I actually think they should have 18-plus checking on some of that stuff.
Yeah, because seriously, if you're under 18, you should not have been able to watch Ebola syndrome.
You should not be watching Ichi the Killer. You probably shouldn't be watching Killing Machine, which I'll talk about soon enough.
Yeah, well, the worst thing was that Ebola syndrome pretty much headlined. Like, one of the opening scenes was something worse than pretty much all of Gerald's part of our panel combined.
Yes,
into like one scene.
So there was no way I thought we were going to actually get in serious trouble because I would have whipped out, well, you showed Ebola syndrome at this con. Do you know what happens in Ebola syndrome? You showed Ichi the Killer at this con. Nothing we did was worse than Ichi the Killer.
And the other thing was that I remember from the panel, not only did no one walk out in disgust except one guy who walked out in the beginning before anything horrible happened.
Yeah, he walked out when we made our disclaimer and described what the panel was going to be about.
We were basically like, this is going to be a very offensive panel talking about some old, very sexist Japanese literature.
I think Gerald actually started the panel with who likes rape. Yeah.
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 So people were fully warned as to what the panel may or may not be about.
Yeah,
but also, no one else walked out. And every single person who was in the room gave a standing ovation.
Yep. So I think what had happened is Khan somehow heard that, I guess, from people walking around, or I don't know how they heard, or maybe someone did complain that stayed the whole time, I don't know, that our panel was like a rape-glorifying panel of some sort, which, if you walked in at the wrong time and stayed for the wrong amount of time, it could be construed as such easily, but it was not in any way.
I think the main reason for that was that now I realize I think I'm going to put my Mr. Tokai rape allegory section comparison at the end of the panel.
Yep.
Followed by the Ode to Kirihito.
I think if we just rearrange the panel, we can avoid all possibilities of misconstruing what the panel
If anything,
is about.
I want to start with Gerald's stuff and then move into the educational and say, see, as horrible as that is, look what it turned into.
Yep, that's a good move too.
But regardless, by the time we get there, because it took us a while to walk back to the con, the staffer, the Otakon staffer who had been in the room for the entire panel, who had kicked all the young kids out and who would basically run everything for us, had already been there defending us and telling the people who were concerned how awesome our panel was.
Yep, so mad props to that awesome guy. He knew what the score was. He knew our panel was awesome.
So I think it was S. Dang from the staff was there. And actually, the panels person, Meredith, the whole time it was like, I'm sorry to bring you out here. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Come on in.
Yeah.
So everyone was super apologetic, and we finally get there. And he's like, so I heard some things. What was your panel about?
And then we explained what our panel was about.
And he basically said, oh.
I'm less angry now that I know what your panel's about. And the staff guy says you're not lying, so you're okay.
Yep.
And we're like, yes, we understand.
Now, I think we could do a whole show about how to get out of trouble or how to not get in trouble, but it's very simple.
Be us, you won't get in trouble.
Well, it's not be us. It's more simple than it. Act like a freaking professional. I mean, we recorded the whole panel, not to put in the show or anything, but just because that's what professionals do. We keep archival footage. We cover our butts. We do everything by the book. We're prepared for any eventuality. If someone had been offended at the panel, we were ready to deal with that and explain ourselves.
Yep, and it didn't take much to avoid any sort of trouble.
I think it also helped that the panel was super popular.
And also that we didn't do anything actually stupid, like, I don't know, live reenactments.
We did do live reenactments.
I meant live reenactments
Actually,
of the other stuff.
Scott and I reenacted a scene from Sanctuary, and that specific moment was cited by almost 10 people as being the most awesome part of the panel.
It was a good part. I think we should keep that in the panel.
Ananth from Apple Geeks came over and clasped my shoulder and he wants to read Sanctuary and Eagle so hard he could cry now.
Yeah, I think we should do that reenactment again, but if you actually show the manga on the screen while we do it,
yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Plus, I think you said the line wrong, but it didn't matter because you said the same line in spirit.
Yep. I think I actually did say the same line.
No, because I think he said it hurts so much I could cry.
That's what I said.
You said it hurts like hell.
Did I?
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Because just now when I said, I'm pretty sure the line is, it hurts so much I could cry. At least as translated in the Viz publication.
Yeah, not like Trigun, where the bad translation was actually better than the real translation in that one scene.
Yeah. All right.
Regardless, the Gekiga panel, expect to see the final polished version at Katsucon and the New York Anime Festival.
We're going to do it at the New York Anime Festival?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, man.
I got to work out the details still. It's probably just going to be you and me, but the New York Anime Festival, we met the guy, Peter Totero, who I've been working with. I think the New York Anime Festival is going to be hot. The more I learn about it, they're doing everything right.
At first, I was apprehensive because it's an anime convention in New York City in the Javits. That's a recipe for disaster. It's being run by Reed Exhibitions, the same people who run the New York Comic Con. Further recipe for disaster, according to the Book of Scott.
Only because anime cons are not like comic cons.
Yes. However, all the signs now, after learning about the New York Anime Festival and speaking to people who are closer involved with it, they are outsourcing. I don't know how much of it is official, so don't believe everything I say.
Yeah, don't give any specifics, but
they are outsourcing, from what I have heard in the rumor mill, a lot of the things at their convention to people who have done it before. Like, I heard that they're letting Katsucon, which has excellent video gaming, do their video gaming, and they're letting someone else who does excellent video rooms do their video rooms. Thus, they don't have to learn how to do anime con things from scratch. They're letting people who have already done it for many, many years do it at their con in addition. Thus, basically, it's sort of like the best of the best. It's like the Northeast Anime Con's greatest hits in a way. And I hope that's what it turns out to be. I'm still not 100% confident it'll be awesome, but the more I learn, the more confidence I get.
we're running some shows there, so I think it's going to be good.
It'll be good. The parts that we do will be good, even if the rest of the con fails, because we will not let our parts go down. We won't let it happen. All right.
So, the fact that we had all our panels on Friday was great, because Saturday, we pretty much just relaxed in our Artist Alley table, took turns talking to people. We met a lot of awesome people. I'm not going to even try to do shout-outs.
People are awesome if you met us. There you go. People who didn't meet us, not as awesome.
And of course, by next year, because like I promised, we're very close to having all the swag done. Next year, I think we're going to have a double-wide table, and we'll be selling all sorts of Geeknights stuff.
As opposed to giving you a piece of paper and doing surveys. Yeah, the only things I could say about the Artist Alley is that the running of the Artist Alley, awesome. Perfect in every way. The guy who ran it, also awesome. The art show, run awesomely. Not as much art I was interested in as last year.
I don't know. For me, I thought it was better than last year.
Really? I don't know.
Like the quality...
2 years ago was the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but the quality of the art, not just in the art show, but in the Artist Alley as a whole, was like super high this year for some reason.
I think the average quality was way super high. Like, there was no bad art in the Artist Alley. Like, so the average of the quality of art was like way up there. That just personally, there was not as many things that caught my eye and made me really excited. There was like one person who had these awesome stickers, and I bought all their stickers. They're awesome. I wish I had the stickers to tell you their website. But other than that, it was like, oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. That's pretty awesome. But nothing that was like, oh, man, I need his money.
I don't know,
for
for me,
personally.
the things I really wanted were, but Scott bid on it, and it went for way too much money.
That was in the art show, yeah.
Yeah, there was the Kakeru Sh art. That was awesome.
Oh,
and
the Kakeru Sh was great.
There was all those renditions of the Greek gods that were just...
Those are also, oh my God.
Those were... I would have paid a lot of money for those, but they went for even more than I wanted to pay.
I should have written down who did them to contact them.
If anyone remembers, because seriously, that was some hot shit.
That was very hot.
Also, we recorded something there, but I'm not going to bother finding it and playing it. But in the 18-plus area of the art show...
There was something awesome in there.
There was something fantastic in there.
Usually the 18-plus area of the Otakon art show
is always really meager and filled with really bad art. Not
it's
bad,
usually like a naked furry, two yaoi guys, an anime character naked. It's nothing really horrendous, like, oh God, disgusting.
It's just always like poorly drawn and crappy.
It's nothing that's really good. It's nothing really bad or scary. It's just like some nudes. And you're like, whatever, what the hell is this for? This year, there was barely anything in there whatsoever. There was like one tiny nude, and two things that were awesome. And do you want to just say what they were?
No, because I have the recording of us when we went in there, and I'll just save that for a special.
Okay, cool.
Suffice to say, that was one of the highlights of my con.
See, in retrospect, we should have bid it enough so it was forced to go into the auction.
That would have been so classic.
But we didn't think of that until it was too late on Sunday when the art show was over.
Now, the last big thing we did at Otakon on Saturday, well, we can talk about the dealer's room in a minute, but
Okay.
basically, our friend Katsu, because we always do a million panels at cons, and this year, I told all our friends, hey, do you want to do a panel? And Katsu, one of the few people we know, stepped up and said, you know what? I'm awesome at kendo. I'm a certified kendo instructor. I'm a yondan.
I think we pushed him to do it.
We did.
His also.
But he decided to do a kendo panel. And basically, he, for an hour, without a microphone, in a standing room only, busting at the seams room, just did a panel that we filmed. James filmed it. Was absolutely amazing. I was on the panel, but all I did was MC it. Like, straight up. I did what every panelist should have from Otakon. I introduced him. I took questions from the audience. And other than that, I hid behind the speakers and didn't say a word. Katsu had the audience on the edge of their seats. It was an amazing panel. He is going to be busting some shit up at KatsuCon.
Yeah, I heard the awesomeness of this panel, but I did not go to this panel because I was happening in the artist alley.
Remember, Katsu is a kendo instructor. He ran it like a professional college class on kendo. And he basically just took questions from the audience and demonstrated. And it was fantastic. And when the panel ended, no one wanted to leave. And a crowd of people followed Katsu out and pestered him for another half hour.
Yep.
And I felt bad for the panel that came in after because no one stayed. But
yeah.
we've got a video. We're probably going to get it up
I
on
wanna see
YouTube
that video.
at some point because it's fantastic.
Yep.
And the cool thing is Aaron Ryder, the KatsuCon guy, came up to me after it and basically said, wait a minute, so it's not just you two? Are you telling me that the whole front row crew can just do panels like that whenever they want?
Pretty much.
And I was like, you realize that the people in the front row crew combined could run all of the content at an entire anime con?
Probably.
I think we could, between
We would
all
need
of
some
us.
help from the podcasting friends, but that's about
I
it.
think the extended front row crew alone has enough panels.
Front row crew and associates.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, once again, expect some fucking busting out at KatsuCon. I think we want to try to make Katsu the spokesperson of KatsuCon.
Maybe. All right, so, dealer's room.
All right, the dealer's room was gigantic. It was great. It had everything you want out of a dealer's room. A lot less porn than usual.
Yep. There was a lot more swords than usual. The layout was improved. A lot less industry presence than in the past, which
But
is
the industry
good and
presence
bad.
that was there was back to its former glory with all the spectacle.
Well, mostly Bandai Visual with their HD theater showing freedom, which
Yeah.
was nice, but I have no desire for that. And the full spectacle had not returned. The full spectacle was the year that ADV had the Honda Civic full of merchandise and hot booth babes making you take a survey about the anime network for a chance to win said car. That was the spectacle.
Well, I think that's slowly returning. I'm hoping.
I think it's actually declining as I see most of the people who had the big booths in the spectacle in the past were the manga publishers like Viz and Tokyo Pop. And I've noticed that recently they have been going to the Comic-Cons for their business, and they're sort of disrespecting the fan-run anime conventions. But yeah, anyway, dealer's room, pretty awesomely run.
There were super deals on DVDs. I bought all of Utena. I bought all of Haibane
There was
Renmei.
one place that had these super deals on DVD.
You could get all of Slayers for like $75.
Yep.
And when I say all of Slayers, I mean all 3 seasons.
Yep. If you wanted bad manga or old manga no one cared about, it was easy to get in quantity for very cheap, like $5 or less per manga. But the selection on that manga was pretty weak, so you had to get something you probably didn't like.
Kineticon had a much better manga deal selection.
Well, that was mostly because of that one dealer that I forget, Kamikopia.
Yeah.
They have excellent manga, awesome deals. But, yeah, the thing is, in terms of what was there wasn't that much I wanted to buy. I bought a Galaxy Express poster.
Well, I'm really beyond buying all the little trinkets. I mean, I've got boxes full of various
I
plastic
wanted to
trinkets.
buy this one Pokemon PVC of Spiritomb, and they didn't have it at WYSIWYG. They had everything else in the set. There was one guy who had sealed boxes of the set, but I would have had to pay too much to get the set. Even though I thought about buying it and giving it to all my friends, WYSIWYG was selling it for $2 each figure. That would have come out to like $32 for the box, which I was willing to pay. This other guy was selling it for $3, so it would have been like a lot more money for the box, and I wasn't willing to pay that, even if it was for all my friends. So, and especially since I wanted one figure from the set, the Spiritomb. Yeah. Okay.
The thing is, more and more, I think Scott and I both, I don't want to sound like, oh, we're too, but I feel like I want to buy the quote-unquote classy things in the dealer's rooms.
Exactly.
Now. And by classy, I mean, the thing I want the most are like old Leiji Matsumoto posters from back in the day.
That's what I got. I got a Leiji Matsumoto poster.
The thing is, while they might have been free or cheap when they were, out there and you could just get them, they're kind of hard to find now, so they're always like $20 to $40.
Yeah, I spent $19 on mine, and it wasn't the best one they had either. The other ones were a lot more money.
I'm also kind of feeling more and more like, I don't want to collect cells. I hate collecting. I hate that old business. But I feel like I should own at least one cell.
Yeah, owning a cell is pretty cool.
I feel more and more like it might be worth it someday to spend the amount of money it would take to have like the one cell with the background from the one anime that I love the most and just have it in a frame with a little like plaque under it describing what it is. That's the kind of thing you put in the library when you have your manor house someday.
Yeah, you go for it. Why not?
I'll have that, and I'll have my Nazi coin, which I'm still proud of because I think that thing's really neat.
Yep.
And the few other small trinkets of history that I have.
Yeah, but if you're looking for a dealer's room and not necessarily looking for deals, you're just looking for availability of merchandise, and you are not jaded and you actually want anime merchandise, Otakon dealer's room, super awesome.
I mean, still, watching someone who has never been to an anime con before or never
Especially
been to an
never been
Otakon
to
before,
Otakon.
walking into that dealer's room for the first time and realizing that it's going to take them a couple hours just to walk the length of it, the look on their face is priceless. And I remember how I felt when I first walked into an Otakon dealer's room.
I spent a lot of time in my first Otakon at the dealer's room.
I guess what I should say here is that Scott and I go to a lot of cons, and we're kind of jaded. We don't care about most of what's at cons anymore. So
we're going to give a bad review to pretty much any dealer's room, even if it's the best dealer's room ever.
Well, more than
because
that,
we don't care about it as much as other people do.
We tend to focus on the things we do and the things that go wrong because that's all that stands out anymore. You can assume that anything we don't talk about was probably
99% of Otakon was awesome. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, in fact, we've gone kind of long, so I think I'll get to the con feedback session, and then we'll have our final thoughts.
Is there any other things we just had to cover at the last second here?
I didn't go to the dance.
Oh, the concert.
Oh, right, the Eminence concert. We missed the AAA concert.
Yes, so we went to the Eminence concert. Eminence, just to sum it up, they're actually a full orchestra from Australia, but they sent over a string quartet and a pianist to perform. What they do is they perform video game and animation music in classical form, and it's very awesome.
And along with them, because they had helped do a lot of the music for the Romeo and Juliet anime, they had the composer for that music there with them, and he's good friends with them.
He's a famous anime composer. It's like Nobu, then this guy.
I
guess Nobu, Yoko Kanno, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like the top of the second line of awesome composers.
The guy's a great composer.
He's awesome.
I feel bad that I don't remember his name.
Yes.
But the guy's awesome, and he's really cool. Like, he was up there talking and with them, and I have respect for the guy. And actually, the MC that came with Eminence was really funny and cool, too.
He was all right, even though he was a little nervous and he didn't know exactly what to say a lot.
He wasn't as cool as the guy who actually was, like, the first violin.
Yes, the first violin guy should have been the MC, and the MC guy should have just not been there.
Because the guy was just hilarious and great.
Yes. The only problem I had with the Eminence concert, because
piano squall.
The performance they gave was great. I was a little bit jaded because I felt that, I don't know, after seeing the video game pianist, I'm sort of jaded on video game and anime music performances.
But suffice it, regardless of video game anime part of it, they were a fucking fantastic quintet.
They were awesome. The concert was awesome. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. I want to see it again and again and again. But I guess part of the reason they were there is because Piano Squall knew them and had contact with them, and
now,
Piano Squall had contact with Otakon. And
that's cool and all.
He was the hookup guy.
Like, that's cool and all. I'm glad he did it. I respect him for that. But he was kind of a self-serving prick up on stage.
I knew Piano Squall from when he was at Otakon in the past. I saw him perform at, I think, a cosplay intermission when I was in the simulcast room. And The guy has piano skills. I will not deny. His piano skills might not be at the same level as Martin Long, who I just mentioned, the video game pianist, but they are awesome piano skills. He has better piano skills than most people. Also, he has a good Squall cosplay. He looks like Squall.
Yeah.
I cannot deny that. He also has a pretty good shtick going, and he has a lot of respect from a lot of fans, and I can't deny that to him.
But in this particular instance, when he was on stage, he kind of came off as an asshole.
I also didn't like him, and I don't like him as a person. I think he's very unprofessional. He's sort of fanboyish, and he's sort of annoying. And while I don't know him personally, and I've only interacted with him as an audience member to when he has been on stage, and that is it, he doesn't seem like the kind of person I really want to talk to, ever.
He talked way too much at the during the concert.
He said annoying things that made me want to groan that were unprofessional.
And the worst thing is, at one point, now, I'm not arguing freedom of speech or anything, because when have I ever shied away from saying something offensive?
Never. We
And-
did the Geki got panel.
Yes,
Damn.
yes. But he made a joke somewhat disparaging of Baltimore.
And while I agree that Baltimore deserves to be disparaged,
It was
you don't do that.
Well, you can do that.
It is in very poor taste.
You could do it if you did it well in the right circumstances, but it was neither the time nor the place, and it came off as really crass and tacky, and I lost most of my respect for Piano Squall then.
Yeah, I mean, even if I'm a musical act and I go somewhere to perform, even if it's someplace I hate, like where's someplace I hate?
Well, it depends, because some musical acts can get away with coming up on stage and be like,
if you're
"Fuck you, Baltimore!"
well, like
woo!"
Lewis Black, he can get up there and he can be like, "How do you people stand this shitty weather?"
Oh, when he came to RIT, he's like, "Fucking cold. What the
Yep.
fuck? You guys have tunnels because it's fucking cold. Fuck you."
Yep, exactly. But
I'm only here
he's a
because you paid
comedian.
me.
He's a comedian. If you're a piano soloist and you're going to play piano, you don't get up and say, "Man, your city has a high crime rate. Yeah, this place sucks."
But even then, the way that Piano Squall did it, and the circumstance and everything, it was really lame in the first place. And I think what spoke well of Eminence is that they didn't react, and the MC guy just kind of smiled and nodded and gave this look of, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, they should have had, if they needed to include Piano Squall in the thing at all.
Don't give him a microphone.
God, I don't want to see this guy. If I know that Piano Squall was involved with the thing, that might have, if I had known that beforehand, I might have actually shied away from it.
Which
and
would have been
missed out
bad.
on the great concert.
Because Eminence is awesome.
I know.
Also, the guy on the far right who didn't talk much but had the so-called
Australian guy?
Well, they're not all Australian, but it's an Australian group.
Yep.
Apparently, Americans say their R's like pirates.
Yep, that guy was a funny guy. I liked him.
Yes.
Basically, they should have just let the musicians run the show themselves because they were 10 times as awesome as the MC or Piano Squall.
But the MC was pretty good. It was just
He was okay.
Piano
He was
Squall
better than Piano Squall.
was really the
I think
only-
Piano Squall made him look good by relativism.
I think he did.
All right, that's enough of that concert.
All right, so we have a tradition
you-
every year of going. Oh yeah, we'll link to them in
All
the
right.
forum.
Good idea.
We'll link. You know what? We're gonna link to a bunch of stuff in the forum because I gotta give shout outs to people and all that. The forum thread will probably end up being long for this.
All right.
Suffice to say, we have a tradition every year of going to the closing ceremonies and the con feedback session. We missed the closing ceremonies,
Which is sad because if you miss the closing ceremonies at Otakon are special because there are many anime music video showings at Otakon. The problem with these showings is they're often crowded and annoying and loud, and they're not pleasant, at least for me,
And
especially since I don't care a lot about music videos, and most of the music videos are not so good, and I only want to see the good ones.
See, I care a lot about anime music videos, and I really like them. Like, they're a big part of cons for me. But
I have an idea that I came up with today that I'll let you know about.
anime
You
cons,
probably already figured out my idea.
anime music video contest, for a lot of reasons that we've talked about. We had an anime music video expert on the show not too long ago.
Oh, we did. Yeah, I forgot.
I
I just thought about that earlier today.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I thought about it at Otakon
Huh? Okay, then.
because that was a good show.
But at Otakon, at the closing ceremonies, they show the winners of the AMV contest, and only the winners, and the honorable mentions, and the judges' choices, and such.
And all I remember is that every year, it's just like 6 amazing music videos. And to this day, the one video that I saw, the 25-25 video, that's like the best anime music video ever, other than that Utena one.
It's a really damn good anime music video.
It's one of those ones where it's good and it's serious, which is hard to do. Because if you try to do
Usually
serious,
the best ones are comedic or like happening.
Yeah, if you try to do
Energetic.
serious, you usually end up being lame.
Or
But
sappy.
that's one of those videos that gives you that feeling. You know,
Yep.
that...
The same
oh.
feeling that the awesome animes give.
Yes.
Which is what you're trying to do, is give the same feeling awesome animes give with a song and some anime.
But we missed it. It sucked. I'm sad. However, we went to the con feedback session, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail.
One thing I can say about the con feedback session this year that was better than years past is they basically had all of the top staff there, the whole row of them, which in years past, they've only had a few staff guys there taking notes. And I think that was a good improvement because they were able to properly respond to more of the questions rather than just saying, yeah, we'll pass that along all of the time. They only had to say, we'll pass that on a few times.
Now, this Otakon, it broke the mold of con feedback sessions because the rule is 99% of any con feedback session is cosplayers complaining about cosplays and masquerades. This year, no one complained about that.
At least I didn't hear any complaints about it.
There was one semi-legitimate complaint about making the rules clear about what is and is not allowed in the BCC, but other than that, almost all of the complaints were either stupid fanboys complaining about bullshit that Otakon has no power over or Otakon shouldn't change. Now, I won't get into that. Or people complaining about autograph sessions and panels. Now, with the autograph sessions, the complaints were usually along the lines of, I wanted the autograph and I didn't get it. To which I say, there are 22 to 25,000 people there, and there are like 1,000 autographs going to be signed. If you get one, you're lucky. If you don't, better luck next year. And the fat fanboy who tried to complain that because autograph sessions were set simultaneous, he was not able to get both autographs at the same time, fuck you.
Exactly. I wanted to yell out, fuck you, sit down and shut up. And first, the thing is, regardless of, yes, there's a limited supply and a demand is greater than supply. If you get one, you're lucky. There's also it's a fucking autograph. Someone just drags a pen across the paper. Why? I mean, I want to wait in line to maybe talk to someone, maybe spend 10 seconds going, hi, how you doing? Maybe say, thank you for the awesome art you make. I enjoy it a lot, or something like that. Or maybe get something from them, But an autograph really doesn't mean anything to me, and I don't really understand why it means a lot to other people.
Well, it could mean a lot to me if it was someone I really respected, but even then,
the physical artifact of the autograph itself would be just a reminder of the time when I met the person, which is what really has the meaning. For a lot of these people, it seems like the physical artifact of the autograph is the meaningful thing.
I have one case where the physical artifact is the meaningful thing.
What is that?
And while the Magic Johnson story is awesome,
Oh, okay.
if I ever get that signed by Captain Lou and then the guy who played Luigi,
But
I
see,
now
but then
have
the important thing-
I have the anime equivalent of a Catholic relic.
But the important thing there isn't the physical artifact of the autograph itself, but the meta surrounding the combination of what the autograph is
Yeah.
on.
I don't want to yell at people who get autographs.
No.
I want to yell at people who mindlessly collect every autograph they can get.
Anyone who collects.
Like our friend Lisa really wanted to get the Escaflowne guy's autograph,
But
and
she
got it.
pictures, sketches from the Escaflowne guy, and she talked to the Escaflowne guy, which is much more meaningful, and that's the
I
awesome
highly
part.
doubt this fanboy really cared about all of the people who were giving autographs. at the
No,
con.
I imagine he did not.
He just wanted to fill out his autograph book, and frankly, I wish Otakon... See, in the years past, Katsucon was really good about this, was more forceful in shooting down stupid questions. This year, they were really kind of conciliatory, and they very much... If someone asked a stupid question, they basically said, we'll forward that to the interested parties.
Here's an idea I just came up with. You ready? Tell me if you like this idea, right?
I'm listening.
When you get an autograph, the autograph line system at Otakon is just fine as far as I'm concerned. The way they do it is you get a ticket, and if you get a ticket, you're guaranteed an autograph. And if you don't have a ticket, you can wait in line, but you're not guaranteed an autograph. That's a good system. I think they should add one more thing to that system. If you get an autograph, they punch a giant crazy hole in your badge, and you're not allowed any more. You get one for the con, period, game over.
That's hot.
That's a good idea.
That would be
think?
fantastic.
You can only get one autograph at the con, no matter what, no matter who you are. So if you're going to get one, you pick one. Now, if you wait in line and you don't get one, we don't stamp your badge to permanently prevent you from getting any more autographs this year. So you can still wait in another line and try again. But you get one. That's it, fanboy.
Now, as for the other complaints, which were almost all about panels, half of them were the panels were totally fucksored and no-shows and scheduling problems, and that was true. The panels were completely fucked at Otakon.
I think the problem is that before the con, I got the schedule online. The schedule online was more up-to-date than the printed pocket guide at the con. Secondly, there was a problem with the pocket guide. There was in the pocket guide a description for a panel about Superflat. No panel about Superflat was scheduled on any schedule I've ever seen, but there was a description for the panel in there. So problems with the checking of the printing beforehand already.
I'm very much of the mind that it would be worth the expense for Otakon. I mean, the pocket guide's well and good, and they could keep it.
Cons need some sort of pocket guide because carrying the program around like a Kineticon is no good.
But they should add to that, and I mean, I'd be willing to pay more even to go to Otakon. Just a single piece of paper that has the most up-to-date schedule. Like, the final day, they can print it and still get it to the con and put it in the bag.
I actually
Not even in the bags. Maybe they just pass it out when you get your badge.
I would really like it if they just had the schedule on some paper and not in the pocket guide. And then maybe the pocket guide just had the descriptions of the events, or maybe the pocket guide had things just, I don't know.
The pocket guide should just have maps and descriptions of things. The sheet of paper, the single sheet of paper, should be the most up-to-date schedule they could have possibly printed.
Yeah. I don't know. Or print the pocket guide later so that the schedule is more up-to-date. If the pocket guide does not have a useful and accurate schedule, we might as well have nothing. So we need a pocket guide because we can't be carrying the program around, the big giant thing.
All right, now we've gone on long, so
Yes.
I'm not going to get into what went wrong with panels. Suffice to say, we'll probably do a separate show about that. I think the show will be
Something
titled...
went wrong with panels at Otakon this year. It was they could have prevented it if they had acted beforehand in a smart way, but they didn't, and it failed. They did their best to recover from the disaster.
And I got to say, Meredith did a fantastic job of covering up and saving everything.
They did the best they could to recover from the disaster, but in my opinion, the disaster did not have to occur if they had acted smartly beforehand. And there were some problems afterwards, but some of those problems were due to people's stupidity.
I think we'll
That
do a
wasn't
separate
Otakon
show
stupidity.
that is going to be very simply exactly how myself and Scott would run panels at Otakon if we were
Or
in
at
charge
any
of them.
convention. At any convention.
Yeah, but I think we'll go through the
At
specifics.
any anime convention.
I think if we specifically do Otakon, like I would do it exactly this way.
All right. It doesn't have to be Otakon, though.
But anyway, that we've gone on. We don't want to turn into Anime World Order here.
No.
So
Is there anything else to say about Otakon this year besides how awesome it was?
the rest of the complaints about panels were basically people complaining about the content of fan panels, or the content of industry panels, or the fact that a panelist wasn't prepared, or didn't show up, or didn't use the microphone right.
Yep.
And to which I want to say, Otakon they should have come out straight away and just said, fan panels are run by fans, not by us.
We have the anime music videos. If they suck, that's not Otakon's fault. They have no control. If no one submits good music videos, they can't make good music videos and put them in.
Yeah.
It's not
Don't go to the con feedback and say the Helsing panel or the Inuyasha fan panel was crappy and poorly run, because they don't know. They don't care.
You should say that, but you shouldn't blame the con for the fact that the panel was poor. But you should tell them, hey, I just want to let you know this panel was bad. I don't suggest you allow those panelists back in the future. And the con, there is more demand to run panels than there are panels to be run, and the con really should be a lot stricter and a lot more tough on who gets to run panels and who doesn't, and which panels get to be run, because they can. If they are harder on the panelists, they can improve panel quality across the board. But it's not the con's fault if a panel sucks. It's the panel people's fault.
I mean, basically, we suggested to Kineticon things they could do to make their panels go better, and they did everything we said. And I think that Kineticon is going to have better and better panels every year now. I really think Otakon should do the same thing. It wouldn't be that hard.
Nope. All right. Anything else? I'm trying to think.
Other than the panel's catastrophe, Otakon was run pretty much flawlessly, and I didn't run into a single freaking problem at the con.
Other than the 10 minutes we spent in that problem line at Reg and the panel problems, everything else at the con was flawless. I can't really think of ways to make it better other than things I could have done, as opposed to... There's nothing the con could have done, really, to make it better for me, other than what we already said. I can't think of anything. It was Otakon. Awesome. Every time. There's a reason we go back every year.
Yes. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.